And now for a different perspective, let's turn our minds to the future of manual labour. In Grant's short presentation today, he will use commercial construction as a case study to argue that there is a natural tipping point when it comes to the cost of labour, and when passed, companies and industries find innovative solutions to offset these costs. Michael Osborne spoke of this in the context of algorithms being a cheaper and often more consistent alternative to human labour. This, in effect, decreases dependence on manual labour in the industry and economy, however, increases dependence on new knowledge-based skill sets. Grant Galvin, our next speaker, joined Master Builders in July 2013 as Executive Director after garnering a very unique breadth of senior management experience across a diverse range of industries, ranging from food manufacturing and transportation to diverse roles in media. Grant's previous roles varied from human resource management and industrial relations through to general management and large-scale manufacturing management in well-known companies like Queensland Rail, Ansett, Goodman Fielder and News Limited. He also holds a commercial pilot's licence and for a short period commenced his full-time working career as a flying instructor at Redcliffe Aerodrome. Grant is passionate about drawing upon the unique skills, experience and talent that resides within his organisation to drive change. Implementing ongoing organisational improvements is a key focus for Grant and his team at Master Builders. Please welcome Grant Galvin.
Well, thank you very much for that. The good news is it sounds like I know nothing about construction, and that is probably true. So if I use some big construction terms, I actually don't know what I'm talking about, but I'll make it up as I go. But it's a pleasure to be here with you today. That one. Okay, we've got two flickers. We're talking about technology and I can't pick the right flicker. It's a pleasure to be here today, and thank you very much to David for actually inviting me along. Any opportunity I can get to talk about the future of construction is a good thing. So I'm going to take, let's see if this works, there we go, the future of manual labour, but use commercial construction as a test case for this, because there's lots of parallels between commercial construction and many other industries, and probably even universities if we actually get down to it. Now I'm going to play you a video that I found on YouTube, because all good videos are found on YouTube, and this, I like to start with a video because this really encapsulates in about a minute and 5 seconds what I'm talking about. It's a 30-storey building constructed in 15 days. Now, just to give you an idea, this would probably take us about 2 years, and I absolutely acknowledge that safety in China's maybe not up there with safety in Australia, and it might actually take Australia 17 days, not 15 days, but it'll give you a bit of an idea of what I'm about to talk about. It goes on. But when I first saw that, I was absolutely blown away, and so that's 30 stories in 15 days. And the things that I noticed in here, apart from the fact that they work day and night, which was interesting compared to Australia, there's lots of other things that I noticed. The three key things were, and I actually didn't write this, I had not seen Michael's presentation, I didn't even know what Michael did, to be honest, until I got here this morning. But There was actually 48% less manual labour in the construction of that total building, not just in the construction on the site, but in the prefabrication. Prefabrication is king, and it's coming to a building near you. And what it does is actually it goes back to production engineering principles, and it actually starts to do things off-site. Australia really has not gained a whole heap of traction here, although I'm going to show you 3 case studies where it has, but it's really because it relies on scale. But I'll come to that in a minute. And process innovation. Now, who would have thought we use the word process innovation in construction? I certainly didn't think that I would ever be saying the word process innovation, but it's here and it's coming to a building near you. It's happening now, but it's not on a scale of any size yet in Australia. However, China and Southeast Asia, this is happening as we speak. People may not be living in the buildings that they're building, but they are building them that fast. So my theory today for you is that there's a natural tipping point, and I agree with Michael, and I think Michael has agreed with my thesis already, that the market always takes care of itself. It does in every industry. It always has, and it always will. So what we're talking about here is not new, and I think Michael pointed that out with the stocking thing, or the thing that Queen Elizabeth chopped someone's head off for. But when manual labour gets to this cost-benefit tipping point, when the cost of the labour outdoes the benefit, innovative solutions, not just in construction but every industry, just take care of the market itself. And it is replaced with 2 things. It's replaced with multi-skilled labour, and that really is the issue about our debates at the moment about demarcation and who can do this and who can do that, really is just out the window, and it becomes superfluous. So it's replaced with multi-skilled labour where people with the right skills at the right time do the right job. And the second thing is it's about knowledge labour. And again, I didn't think I'd be up here talking to you about knowledge labour in the construction industry, but it's everywhere. And it's in design, it's in planning, it's in building information modelling. And BIM, if you haven't heard of BIM, is coming to construction in a way that I don't even think we realise it's actually going to impact over the next 5 years. But it's in logistics, it's in a whole heap of things that don't actually probably even exist today. And this is not new in Australia, and I think Michael stole my idea about having a large mining truck up there. I was very excited when I found this. And Michael did say, and I'd just like to correct Michael, he said it is coming to Australia. It's already here. It's actually being trialled at BHP and a couple of mines already in Australia. It's been going for about a year, and these are 450-tonne trucks. So, and it was really driven by the fact that flying a person into a mine, putting them up there for 2 weeks, paying them $185,000 to drive a truck, albeit a very big one, became too expensive. I don't need to tell you about the car industry in Australia, but who in this room here didn't actually see that coming? I think just about everyone I've ever talked to saw that the cost of labour in manufacturing, and car industry is just one of them, has been going up for years unchecked. And it gets to a point where industry itself takes care of the situation, and it outsources, it looks for technology, or it offshores. And it's happening in construction, and I'll give you 3 examples. But before I do that, this is a little straw poll. Who here knows the cost of a carpenter, or wants to have a guess at the cost of a carpenter in the CBD today on one of the Tier 1 projects? Anyone want to guess? 100,000. Well, you're close, but you're not that close. Up.
150.
Up. So your average carpenter right now on a union EBA in the CBD is on $185,000, including superannuation. That is for a 55-hour week, because 9 hours of that is overtime, either at double time or actually larger. But that also includes for you, if you're lucky enough to be one of these people, 26 extra roster days off. It doesn't include height or site allowances, which give you up to another $7 or $8 an hour. Now, at this point in time, I actually did this presentation last week, and I was going to ask everyone in the room to put your hand up if you make more than $185,000. And my team said, that is the stupidest idea you've ever said, Greg. But I'm going to do it anyway. Who wants to put their hand up if you make more than $185,000? Excellent. So, well, we've got one. So one person in this room earns more than a carpenter. Yeah. My gut feel is, and this is just a cheeky kind of question, is I wonder what our nurses, our teachers, our ambulance officers, I don't think anyone even knows that that's what a carpenter costs at the moment. I certainly didn't until I started doing a bit of research. So really, again, I don't have a problem with paying people lots of money, but the issue is it comes to a tipping point, and where is that tipping point in construction? And I think we're probably there. It's arrived. Now, this transition, probably a little bit like the car industry, is not going to happen overnight. It's not something that tomorrow we're going to come in and everything's going to be automated. It's either going to be offshore or it's going to be modular made. But it's actually been happening for some time, and it's happening in the Brisbane CBD right now. And now this is my knowledge of construction is limited to these 3 slides. But right now we build large buildings out of concrete. Up until about the 1970s, we built them out of steel. In fact, that's why the Twin Towers fell down, as the steel melted and down it came. But that wouldn't happen to a building in Brisbane because it's made of concrete. Now, the average form worker who does the concreting is on $145,000 a year. And there's about 300 of them required on any of these CBD projects. Why are they going to steel? Because steel you can prefabricate off-site. You might minimise all the industrial relations pinch points, and you can add new technology, you can prefabricate it, you can put it on a truck, you can drive it in there, and you can bolt it on. And this is the new world, and it's happening as we speak. This is the Grocon building in Brisbane CBD. Not many of you are going to be excited about this, but I was, because I could actually see this happening now. So this is what we call back to the future. This is the way buildings were built, and we're going back to it. Why? Because we've reached the tipping point in the cost of labour. Second one, bricks. Doesn't sound very exciting. Bricks are bricks to me. What we do now is we prefabricate off-site. You can go up to 3 stories, 3-storey walls, put on a truck, and you truck them in, you stand them up. It's safer, it's faster, and it's more efficient. The actual cost of the materials, interestingly, is nearly identical. So if you break it down and you go, the cost of bricks and mortar is nearly perfectly identical to concrete. What's different is the cost of labour and the speed that you can do it and the mechanised nature that you can actually do it off-site. The third one, and this is really exciting, and I had no idea, well, I had a little bit of an idea, but not really on the scale, and it's modular plug and play. Plug and play is my non-building term for it, but effectively these are modules that are made off-site. So they are laundries, they are kitchens, they are bathrooms that are made, and they're pre-wired, they're pre-plumbed, they've got pre-electrical, and they are absolutely nailed in terms of the specifications because of BIM, which is Building Information Modelling. So you can plug in, and it's not very far away that you'll go and pre-buy one of these units in here, and you'll be able to pick what you want in those modules. A little program will send it to China. Someone over there in a factory will make these. They'll put them on a ship and send them back. And why would you want to do that? Well, previously, without information technology and all the smart people here at QUT, you actually couldn't get it accurate enough. You can get it absolutely perfectly accurate now, and it's 50% cheaper. It's a whole heap cheaper than getting in your plumbers, getting your electricians. And by the way, the plumbers and electricians can't work together because they don't like each other. So we've got to get the plumbers first, then the electricians, then we'll have a dispute, and then we'll get going. So you can see how this is quite an attractive option. And why would you do it here? Now, again, this is not something just happening in China, it's happening in Australia. There are companies in Noosa already doing bathrooms, vanities, all sorts of things that you can pretty much plug and play. On a commercial scale, it's happening in China every day, it's happening now. And in fact, I think there are buildings currently being tendered in Brisbane where the firm is basically just going, the tier 1 firm building it, is going to build the shell, and they're going to float everything else in. And unless Australia gets with the program, then we are going to be left behind, and we will be manufacturing stuff offshore. So really, my theory is it doesn't mean that there will be no manual labour, but in all the old traditional kind of industries of Australia, you can see it happening now. There will be considerably less, it'll be multi-skilled, and it'll be knowledge-based. So in conclusion, the market does take care of itself, and I think that's been pointed out today. It has in many other Australian industries, and it will continue. When manual labour gets to a cost-benefit tipping point, the market takes care of itself. It thinks of innovative ways of doing it, and it changes. The issue for me from an industry association, I think it's what Michael pointed out, we actually have to embrace this. The difference is that industry associations and unions, both of them are as bad as each other, try and protect the status quo because that keeps us in a job if it's really easy, But the reality is the market's going to do it anyway. So we actually have to get ahead of the game, look at the training, look at the learning, look at the development, and actually pick over the next 3 to 5 years where that's going to be. It's in its infancy in construction. It's only going to accelerate, and the successful companies of the future are embracing it now and have been for several years. Although if you actually went out there now and talked to people about it, I don't think anyone would actually know what's actually going on. So my parting question today, given that I wasn't allowed to ask anyone whether they made more than 185,000, how many of us in this room, in the industries that you work in, have our head, or I have my head buried in the sand in what I do in terms of this is not going to happen to us? Because history says it's happening right across Australia, and time again in our industries, we pretend it's not. Thank you very much.